Hi, I'm Karina Walter, and welcome to the Standard Newsroom. I'm here with Mayor Walter Sendzik for our monthly chat with the mayor. Welcome.
Welcome. Good to be back.
And you have gone through a whole inauguration since I last saw you.
Yeah, I've gone through 2 inaugurations, not just one. We've done the city one on Monday, and then yesterday was the regional. So I'm inaugurated out.
Well, I wanted to ask you about yesterday's. It's been a crazy week as far as news coming out of the region. How do you feel about yesterday?
Well, yesterday was a great opportunity for the new councillors to get together and enjoy the day of becoming regional councillors as a body, and there was a lot of laughing. It was a very relaxed environment, and I say that even though we had to select a chair, there was just a lot of good discussion that was taking place before the meeting, and just got a really good feeling about this new group of regional councillors. I think we're going to do great things, and it was a wonderful way to start off the next 4 years after some pretty challenging times.
Yeah, I was wondering what the mood was like after all the tension and having so many new councillors there too.
And it was a mood that we really want to make the right step immediately, take some very strong positions immediately to deal with some of the past issues. And I think you saw that come right out of the gate with the selection of the chair, and then immediately we went into the NPCA, which, at the time there was members of the clerk's office that were concerned that we couldn't do what we did with the NPCA immediately. But I reminded the clerks that in Oshawa this past week during the inauguration, right after, they passed a motion of support to the workers of GM in Oshawa, and to pass a motion to work with GM and also make sure that Oshawa is not being left behind when it comes to manufacturing. So I looked at that, and I thought that was a very strong move that they did. There's no reason why during the inauguration procedures how we shouldn't be doing something like that with the NPCA as well.
Okay, and you're talking about putting in an interim board right on inauguration day for the NPCA.
It was the first time I think they've ever done an initiative like that, meaning the region, where during the inauguration we made a decision of council, and there's something to be said for that. People expected this council to be bold and to be action oriented, and so what we saw with that decision yesterday was we weren't going to wait another 7 days, we weren't going to wait another 10 days, we were going to deal with it right there, and you had a consensus of council, which I think is a good indication this is going to be a good group to work with.
Well, since you brought up the MPCA, let's start with the new board. It's been said that there's been an old ruling that's been brought forward that said that perhaps the Niagara's 12 members they've been ad hoc for a little while. Do you expect that the composition of the MPCA board is going to change?
Look, there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of people who maybe wanted to block some of these initiatives that were being brought forward or that were being discussed. All that's by the wayside now. I think with this interim regional councillors that will go to the NPCA board, because for those who don't know, the NPCA board is made up of Hamilton, Haldimand, and Niagara. So what we effectively did yesterday as a regional council is replaced the 12 councillors who were representing Niagara. They're done. Their term was over. The new 12 will come in as an interim of appointments from Niagara. And there's going to be a review of governance, I'm sure of it, because honestly, Karina, it's a 17-member board, I think. Any board governance in Canada will say that 17 members on a board is too much. So I'm hopeful that this interim board may also look at some of the governance and try to align the governance of the Conservation Authority of the NPCA with best practices when it comes to overall governance. And we're hoping to see that come forward as well.
So it's the new board that's actually going to be looking at the composition of the board going forward.
I would expect, because I think things are going to move pretty quickly, and based on who was appointed to Niagara from last night's council meeting, I think you got 12 very strong people on there who have a good understanding of governance, and I'm hoping they'll come back with a recommendation as well, but time will tell.
So how does that change the selection process for St. Catharines? Because St. Catharines has put out a call for citizens. You got 32 people who want to be representing St. Catharines on the board. Does that change anything?
Well, I just think if the current structure stays as it is, in terms of one from each municipality, we'll follow that formula. If the MPCA and they come back with a board realignment and it's based on population or it's based on the population within the watershed, whatever it may be, then we'll look at what does the representation of Niagara look like, and maybe not guaranteed that that person from St. Catharines will get on, but what I can say is you'll have a very strong pool of candidates that will be interested in the NPCA. So ultimately, Karina, we want to get the representation right. We want to get the right people around the board so that what we saw over the past 4 years plus and what we saw from the Auditor General's report, we can start to fix that kind of governance issue that's been a cloud over the NPCA for a number of years. So there's a lot of work that's being done, and I applaud the councillors who took the initiative yesterday to step up and be on that board, because it's not going to be easy work.
Do you think a lot of the other municipalities are going to be choosing citizens as well?
I think they'll all be putting a request out for appointments. Most of them will be. And I think what will happen is there'll be a holding pattern for a couple of months until things get reoriented. And then whatever new board is constructed will hopefully carry forward with very positive work of the NPCA instead of what's happened in the last number of years.
So it could be a few months before we see a permanent board.
I think so. Why rush it? In terms of, and I use that word, why rush something when we want to get it right? We just don't want to do it all over again. Let's get it right. Let's get the governance model in place, and let's make sure that we have the right people around the table.
So when we're talking about the MPCA, they also, the CAO is out, we found out yesterday. When did you find out about that, about Mark Brickell?
Found out from something called the St. Catharines Standard.
Oh, okay.
Reporting the news first.
Wow, okay.
So
really no inside information.
No inside information. It was came out of the media outlets, and surprised in that this clearly was an action of an outgoing board. I'm surprised that a board that really didn't have any functionality as at least the 12 members from Niagara. I'm interested to know why they would make a decision like that when they knew that there would be a change of the guard within 24 hours. Nothing surprises me with what the previous board of the NPCA. So this isn't a surprise, but I'm sure that the new interim board from Niagara will be looking very closely at all of the last actions of this past board.
Are they going to be reporting back to council on that?
I hope they report back not just to council but to the public.
Okay. The new council yesterday, let's just go back to the nomination of the chair for a second. You nominated Jim Bradley as chair. Why did you think that he would be the best person?
Well, when you look at the experience, when you look at Jim's knowledge of not just government in Niagara, but provincial and federal government, his experience in the provincial sort of bureaucracy, he has a long history. We call that institutional knowledge. He brings that to the table, and I'll be quite honest, he's a statesman. He is someone who holds a very high regard for a seat of office, whether it be a minister's position or a cabinet position at the province or a position of regional chair. So he brings a stabilizing personality and perspective to the regional chair, and I think that's what the public was looking for. You know, there's going to be naysayers out there. They're going to talk about he's been in politics too long, all that stuff, and they'll just keep complaining because that's what they do. But reality, if you're looking for someone who can stabilize what was a very rocky period of time for the region, I think he was a candidate that could do that. And Rob Foster, who put his name forward, 18 years in municipal politics, Rob was a solid person as well. And Leanna Favela from Welland, not a lot of political experience, but she demonstrated that she had a passion and an understanding for what the region's looking for. So you had 3 solid candidates that were putting their names forward, and we've got Jim in the position for the next 4 years, and I think that's gonna bode well for not just Niagara as a government, but Niagara as a community, and looking forward to working with them.
How much of the politics of councillors, some of the controversies, how much of that does fall on the CAO or on the chair to keep things calm and to sort of create the path forward?
Yeah, I think it's all okay. So one thing I talk to people about is tone from the top. So when you look at corporate culture, when you look at sort of strategy and how do you develop a corporate environment, and I use the word corporate because it's all about business teachings, they talk about tone from the top. And if you set the tone from the top, it does find its way into the corporation. And Jim Bradley will bring a very positive, strong tone to the top of stabilizing. And that is an important role of the chair, mayor, CAO, whatever it is. You're the one who sets that tone. And I think it's really important. I think it's critical to the success of an effective council and an effective city or regional operation is setting that tone. And I think he's going to come in with a very steady hand.
One of the people who wasn't there yesterday was the CAO, Carmen D'Angelo. We had a medical issue. We all know the Ombudsman is investigating the hiring of him. I'm wondering what happens to him is the big question now, I guess. And what do you hope to see council do, or how do you hope council is going to address the issue of Carmen D'Angelo?
Well, first and foremost, the health of an individual is paramount. So, whatever issues we're talking about, we want to make sure that someone's health is taken care of. So, Carm, what I've written to Carm as well is your health is the most important thing, bar anything else. So take care of yourself first, and with that, the new council is going to have to look at the entire corporate structure and ask questions. That's what they're going to be there to do, is ask questions. So, what does the future look like from an administrative point of view? That's going to be up to the council and the chair to have some discussions about, and looking forward to being a part of that. But first and foremost is we want to make sure that anyone who's leading the corporation, that their health is being looked after. And I'm hopeful that Carm's procedure will go well, and we'll see him around the council chambers in the next little while.
Some of the other councillors have said they want to see him on administrative leave. What's your preference?
You know what? It's one of those things where he's on a medical leave right now. I think as council, we have to be respectful of the fact that he is on a medical leave. And when he has the ability to come back to council, I think there's going to be a lot of councillors who at least want to ask questions about what's happened, and also look at an ombudsman's report coming forward. And one of the things that we've seen over the last number of months is that Carm has been very forthcoming at meetings, and so our expectation is that when he takes the seat back as CAO, he'll be there to answer questions of council, and at that point, whatever directions we're going in will be a very significant discussion. But right now, he's on a medical leave, and we have to respect that.
So are you saying as well that you're waiting for the Ombudsman report to come back?
I wouldn't be waiting for the Ombudsman report. I'm more interested in having a discussion with the CAO and council. There is obviously a lot of concern from the public, and one of the things that we have to do immediately as a council is to show the public that we're addressing the issues, much like we did yesterday with the NPCA. So I think we have to be very respectful of those who are working as part of the administration, and we got to ensure that whatever decision that we make is in the best interest of the corporation or the administration, the region of Niagara.
Okay. Wanted to go back to the very beginning of the week, to your inauguration speech, which seems like so long ago now.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. It was very different from it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, you talked a lot about rankings and business, and this time it was really a focus on compassionate city initiatives. What has changed in 4 years?
Well, I just think looking at our community and looking at where we are, and I have the good fortune of having experienced the last 4 years as being mayor. So the lens I look at community with is a different lens than the one I walked into the office with 4 years ago. So a stronger understanding of the impacts of poverty, of addictions, of mental health issues, and also looking at the affordability of our city. So whether it's seniors or young families or people who are working in different levels of jobs that provide economic opportunity, we're becoming a city that's somewhat unaffordable. And we can either close our eyes to that and just allow it to continue to be a growing issue, or we can get ahead of it. And so one of the messages that I brought on Monday is we got to be bold. We got to make sure that we're taking and challenging and confronting these issues that are in front of us, because it's about community building. It's about how are we building our city, both in a physical and a social way. And so we have a strong strategic plan. We have a vision of where we want to go. And we have a new council, and we want to make sure that there's an alignment with how we're developing and building our city, and we want to do it in a way that doesn't leave anybody behind. And so the last 4 years has given me a lot of foundation that we're only as strong as the weakest link in our sort of circle of community, and we're hoping that as we continue to build a very dynamic and livable and sustainable city, that we're doing it with everybody in mind, not just one group or another. So it's a positive message, but one that's also there's challenges in front of us. Let's not be afraid of them.
You also thanked the community for the people who were embracing the Compassionate City initiative. Are you surprised at how people have taken to it?
I thought, I knew that we were a compassionate city. I knew that we were a caring community. I was surprised at how widely embraced it's been, and it's a pleasant surprise because you don't know until you start having those discussions, till you introduce the concepts into the larger community space. And so you look back over 4 years, and it's 2.5 years of the Compassionate City project, and it makes you feel really good because I knew we were a caring community, and this just really validates that we can become a compassionate city that not is just not known in St. Catharines as a compassionate city, but is known across North America as a compassionate city. And you know, some people are afraid of leading. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of putting a different lens on our community out there. And there's a lot more people who aren't afraid of that. And in doing so, we become leaders in how we're addressing issues instead of followers. And in order for us to become that amazing North American city, we have to lead. We have to take risks. We have to address these challenges with unique, different ways of looking at these challenges. And that'll put us in that top space of amazing cities. I'm still looking at the rankings. I'm still looking at where we are as a community, but we're doing it in a different way. And we're doing it in a more inclusive way. And that's the one thing I'm proud of, and I think council and staff have done an amazing job of really supporting it.
Speaking, I guess, of the Compassionate City, housing is part of that. I was wondering how the Carlton Street housing project is going for the Niagara Regional Housing.
Going very well. The last update was, interestingly enough, and it's on budget, a bit behind schedule. And the reason why it's behind schedule is because can't find enough drywallers, can't find enough tradespeople. And if anything, if I could leave one message with the folks who are watching this, is that we gotta get our kids, our young sons and daughters, get them to understand that trades is a great career. So whatever trade it is, plumbing, electrical, drywalling, whatever it is, there's so much opportunity out there. And it just seems that we've directed so many of our young towards university that we've created a significant gap in the apprentice programs. And it materializes when you look at a building like this, and it's fallen a couple months behind schedule because there's not enough drywallers, there's not enough plumbers, there's just not enough there to make sure that project stays on time. And you talk to more and more developers, more and more builders in our community, and they're saying the same thing. We can't find enough of the people to actually keep these projects on time. And that has been the case for, I'm going to say, the last number of years. And so hopefully younger people see this as an opportunity. And that's why we're behind. But it should be scheduled to open March of this year, 100 plus, almost 100 units. And that's going to be a great opportunity in our community. Now, if you go over to Church Street, where the Bethlehem Pantera project is, foundation's set, they're building up. They're going quick. Pantera is an amazing company. I got to keep saying that.
That was a really interesting project too, to have those groups working together on that. We're also seeing some action on Queenston Street at the old hospital, and I know we've talked about that many times on this program. Yeah, there's a lot happening there. We've got a couple of questions from readers. One came in through email from the Niagara Region Anti-Racism Association. They say, when asked to consider, this goes back to the mayor's debate when you were running. They say, when asked to consider reopening the Mayor's Committee on Community and Race Relations during the mayor's debate on Your TV Niagara, Mr. Sendzik declined to do so. Now that a new term of council has begun, what kind of commitment can we expect from Mr. Sendzik to challenge systemic racism beyond vague pledges to diversity?
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting question. It's unfortunate they speak about vague promises. I think we've done a lot as a community, and I think that if they were actually paying attention to what was going on in the city, they would see that we've put a concerted effort to reduce those incidences, that we've shone a light on the fact that racism exists in our community just like it exists across any community across Canada. Again, forming a committee for the sake of having a committee that previously existed, not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of just, the mayor had a race relations committee that was formed in 2006 and really didn't meet after 2010, but hey, you should have one anyway. So what we've looked at is we've got our pillars. We've got our 4 pillars of how you build community: social, cultural, economic, and environmental. And under the social and cultural one, we are looking at a diversity and equality committee. That's something that has been on our radar for the past year. I'm hoping that when the new council comes, that committee is formed, we'll get a good, diverse range of people around the table. And it's not maybe there's the same old people that put their name up all the time and want to complain about things, but it's really people who actually want to put some hard work into continuing to create a very diverse and inclusive community. That's what we're all about. We've always been about that. So it's unfortunate that they feel that way, but maybe they'll actually want to get involved and have a positive influence on the community instead of complaining.
The committees that you were mentioning, I think the city had over 30 of them, and council back in 2014 sort of changed that process.
Went down to 14 committees.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it was...
A whole bunch of committees that were just on record for meeting for the sake of meeting, and we are looking at efficiencies, and we want to make sure we're utilizing people's time wisely, and we want to make sure that the committee's aligned with our strategic plan, and that's the alignment that we got right now. We want to make sure that any committees that get added on or any committees that get brought on are part of our strategic plan and where we want to go, and this is a committee that we'll be looking at that really does fit sort of the overall picture for the city of St. Catharines, but we want to do it in a way that's positive and moving forward, not rooted in something in the past.
Has anybody sort of analyzed how those pillars are working and whether the feedback that you're getting from committees is more helpful than maybe 10 years ago?
Yeah, the clerk's office has a report coming out, so there's going to be some modifications to some of the committee structures because we've been able to have them for the better part of 3+ years. And so now with some surveys that we did at the end of term with some of the committee members, we're able to look at some adjustments. So I'll be looking forward to that report and seeing what kind of adjustments can be made to make them more effective.
Okay. We're kind of out of time, so I'm going to save this other question for the next time you come in.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Is it time sensitive?
No.
Okay.
So.
It's not like a Christmas one?
No. Are you going to be at the Christmas market this weekend in Port Dalhousie?
I will be at the Christmas market in Port Dalhousie. There's a lot going on this weekend across the city, so I'm looking to hit a couple of the Christmas bazaars that are out there, get my fruitcake and all the other delicious cookies and treats that you can fake that you made.
Do you eat the fruitcake or do you give it as a gift?
All depends on how hungry I am.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, and Mayor Sendzik will be back in the new year. I can say that now. We will see you next year, and if you want to send in questions ahead of time, you can tweet them with the hashtag AskSendzik or email karina.walter@niagaradailies.com. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.